going on, boys? It's Daddy Big, and I want to welcome you back to the series where I just talk about random garbage. And sometimes I talk about the random garbage programs I have to use in my everyday life. But hope you all have been having a good holiday break. But yeah, so I kind of just wanted to talk a little bit about frustrations with programs and how you ultimately get the things done. Because for me, being a content creator, a musician, artist, I use all sorts of different programs pretty much every day for stuff. For music, I use Sibelius, Studio One. For recording, I use Audacity, my editing software, YouTube, all that stuff. And for art, I use Aseprite. And all of these things, let me just say, I've had wildly different experiences with all these programs. Because some of them are very user-friendly. My editing program, WeVideo. I know, laugh at me all you want. Yeah, I deserve it. WeVideo, like, Aseprite, I don't know how to speak. Aseprite is like a really nice, intuitive program, And then some of them, on the other hand, are not as intuitive, such as Sibelius or Studio One, So sometimes when I have to use these less intuitive programs that I'm less familiar with, things can go off the rails really fast. And yesterday, just Christmas Eve as of recording, I recorded my cover of Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I'm sure I'll have it linked in places around the video if you want to go check it out, probably in the card up top, or maybe the comments is what I would have to guess. But it was a really fun cover, but dealing with the programs, because I use Studio One for it, and Audacity, that's part of the story later, but I use Studio One, and here's the thing, I set up a direct line between my digital keyboard and Studio One, so I could record directly into it, right? My sister helped me set that up. She's really smart with that stuff. And everything was working fine. I recorded it, and side note, I guess, as far as completing the product went, the piano part, it's not perfect, right? But I got all the right notes out. It turned out pretty good. And good Lord, it was exhausting. Because when I started recording, I had my headset on for like hours. I was getting really hot. I had a headache. And I just kept powering through. And by the time I finished my recording for the piano, I was just done for. It took me like 4 hours I had like the terrible headache. I felt like overheated. I was like high on adrenaline from like having just gotten the take. And man, that was intense. But so yeah, that was like coming off of this emotional high, I come back to it later to try and add the vocals, right? And I realized that the panning isn't correct because they were what I was recording on was stereo tracks, and they were completely imbalanced. So I was trying to convert. The stereo basically means it has left and right as opposed to just being centered. But I was trying to convert it to change it into mono, so everything's centered, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. And then every time I tried to record, the input I was putting into the program was being played back to me, and I was like, why? And for the life of me, I could not figure out how to fix that. Either of those things. So after an hour of scouring old forums and YouTube videos, I finally gave up and just converted my files over to Audacity. And that's where I recorded and mixed the rest of it. And I guess this really comes down to my kind of moral of the story. Is just sometimes you gotta roll with what you know how to do. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just gotta work on the fly. Because obviously, I have to learn how to use Studio One. I have to learn how to actually do things in it. But no, it's like, man, sometimes you just can't figure it out, or you just kind of have to fake it till you make it, I mean, Audacity can't do as many things as Studio One can for music purposes, but it did what I needed it to do. You know what I mean? And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you just gotta roll with the things you know how to do. And I guess it's kind of the same for when I got WeVideo. I don't really talk about it ever, but WeVideo is it's a browser program for editing videos. Unless you get like the premium subscription, it only works in 25 frames per second. And I've gotten some some comments before, like, bro, this frame rate hurts my eyes, fix that. But honestly, I will say it's not a very powerful program, just because it. Well, I mean, it kind of is. It's done everything I've needed it to do ever, but I'm sure it's less powerful in terms of just raw processing power, that since it's limited to a browser, than some other programs might be, like Final Cut or whatever else people use. But for me, I honestly think I might keep using it, because one thing that is really nice about it is that since it's browser based, I have a subscription version that allows me to have an infinite library. And what it does is it basically backs up all of my raw content and all of my videos on the site itself. So I have this library of everything I've ever done, and I really appreciate that. But yeah, so like that's a program that I kind of picked. Okay, back in July or whenever the hell it was when I first started this YouTube channel, I knew I had to pick an editing software. And I looked at all the different options, and WeVideo was something I had literally used to make video essays in middle school. So I thought, I know how to do that. I'll just get that. I could have gotten some super expensive, fancy, downloadable program, but I ended up going with what I knew. And I honestly think it turned out better than it might have otherwise. I think WeVideo is doing great for me. And yeah, I guess another program I'll shout out for being not completely miserable to use is Aseprite, because that program it's for my pixel art. Obviously, I've had pixel art on the channel, on the music channel before, and it's just a great program. It's just very intuitive. Everything's right there. Everything makes sense, and yeah. So I guess to wrap things up here, like I said, when it comes to getting products out, like my Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas song, you're going to have to deal with these programs. And if you're like me and are not a savant with them all the time, then you're going to have to try to figure out how to get things to work, And sometimes it just comes down to falling back on the things you really know, that you're really confident in. You know what I mean? So whether it's an art piece or a video or a song or whatever it could be, I guess the other moral of the story I would have too is don't try to learn the better program, because there have been times before when I've had that experience of transitioning between different notation softwares. I used to use Noteflight, a browser program, before I switched to Sibelius, and it was a huge learning curve. It was really frustrating, but now there's a light at the end of the tunnel. So I guess my ultimate takeaway is do what you know, do whatever it takes to make things good, fake it till you make it, but don't shy away from going through the learning curve of getting to using a better program, because it will be worth it if you know how to use a better program in the end. Trust me, it will be. But yeah, take it easy, all the boys out there. Happy holidays, and I guess in the talking series, I'll see you again in the new year. So thank you for all the support this year, and yeah, just really take it easy. I'll see you soon.